The cardboard box trembled in his arms as Christmas lights blurred behind tears he could no longer hide, because on the very night meant for mercy and warmth, she took his job, his dignity, and the last thread holding his broken life together. Fired on Christmas Eve, only weeks after his wife's funeral, he stood in a silent office hallway while celebration echoed everywhere else, and that single moment shattered him more deeply than grief ever had. Before the story pulls you further into this moment, pause for a second. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us humanity still matters, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Ripple of Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. He had once been a man of routine and quiet pride, the kind who arrived early, left late, and never asked for favors. For years he worked under her leadership, believing loyalty would someday mean something. But life did not ask for permission before it collapsed. His wife's illness came suddenly, cruelly, and drained not only their savings but his strength. Hospital corridors replaced dinner tables, and sleepless nights replaced laughter. When she died, the world kept moving while he stopped. He returned to work hollow-eyed, carrying grief like a weight strapped to his chest, hoping the office that once felt stable would give him something solid to hold on to. Instead, efficiency replaced empathy. Profits mattered more than people. On Christmas Eve, surrounded by decorations and forced smiles, she made the decision that would define both their fates. She told herself it was just business. Downsizing, restructuring, numbers on a spreadsheet. She ignored the trembling in his hands, the framed photo of his wife tucked inside the box, the way grief had already taken everything from him. That night, while families gathered around warm tables, he walked through snow, dusted streets with nowhere to go, questioning his worth, his future, and whether life still had any room for him. The days that followed were brutal. Bills piled up. The apartment felt emptier than ever. Grief turned into despair, but somewhere in that darkness, something unexpected happened. Instead of giving up, he chose to learn. He read late into the night, studied business systems, leadership failures, and ethical management, not out of revenge, but survival. Pain sharpened his focus. Loss stripped away fear. Time passed quietly. Years, not months. He took small consulting jobs, helped struggling companies rebuild, and earned a reputation for fairness and vision. He understood people because he had been broken by life himself. Investors noticed, boards listened. Eventually, fate's irony unfolded with slow precision. The same company that once discarded him began to crumble under lawsuits, internal corruption, and unethical practices that traced directly back to her decisions. She had built an empire on fear and shortcuts, and now the cracks were impossible to hide. When the board sought someone to save what remained, his name surfaced, not as a victim, but as a solution. Walking back into that building years later, he felt the ghosts of the past press against him, but he was no longer the man holding a cardboard box. He had become calm, composed, and unshakable. He accepted the role not out of revenge, but responsibility. As he audited the company, the truth spilled out like a long, buried confession: financial manipulation, fraud, silent coercion. Her signature marked decisions that destroyed lives beyond his own. Evidence piled up, undeniable and cold. He did not smile when authorities stepped in. He did not celebrate when headlines broke. Justice, he believed, was not a spectacle. When she was led away in handcuffs, stripped of power and status, the world finally saw the cost of her choices. She had once stood tall behind him, arms crossed, watching him leave with nothing. Now she faced consequences alone, while the company she once ruled survived under principles she never believed in. Under his leadership, policies changed. Employees mattered. Support systems were built. Compassion became strategy, and kindness became strength. The company healed not because profits rose, but because people did. Yet, the deepest transformation was not corporate. It was personal. He used his position to fund medical assistance programs, grief counseling, and job protection for those facing personal tragedy. In quiet moments, he would look at his wife's photo, not with sorrow, but gratitude. Her loss had broken him, but it had also shaped the man he became. He never spoke publicly about what she had done to him, never sought applause for rising above it. His victory was silent, steady, and rooted in dignity. As this story begins to close, if it has stirred something inside you, if you felt anger, sadness, hope, or justice rising together, please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your engagement helps spread stories that remind us compassion still has power. And before the ending fades, leave a comment telling us what part of this journey touched you the most, because your voice matters here. In the end, this was never a story about revenge. It was about resilience, about how cruelty can create strength it never intended to forge. On a Christmas Eve meant to destroy him, she unknowingly set him on a path toward purpose. And while she lost everything to her own choices, he gained something far greater, a life rebuilt on empathy, justice, and the quiet triumph of becoming better than the pain that tried to define him.